Alright, let's check here. Ooh, okay, one adventure. These guys are really hard to kill, so I might not even bother if he has the shield, but let's just see who it is. Maybe it's a noob. Alright, who is it? Oh my god, it's Alkin. Oh, okay, that's weird. Hey guys, what's up? It's AndrewAJT back for another video for you guys, and today we are making a live commentary vlog, something I don't do too often anymore. I used to do these very often where I would talk about things in the game or things going on in my personal life, like stories and stuff, and I do have a pretty funny, or I don't know, it depends on how you look at it, story today of how my car caught on fire yesterday while I was driving it, so we'll get into that pretty soon. But I don't know, sometimes I don't feel comfortable uploading these videos almost, because if you go through my channel for the last year basically, most of the videos are edited pretty nicely. I put a lot of time into them, and then it just feels weird to upload this vlog where it doesn't take a lot of time to make this, just pretty much the time to record it, usually multiple attempts. Like this is my third attempt to record this right now, but usually the feedback for these videos are good, so I don't really understand why I don't make them. Obviously if every video was like this, I don't think it would be that interesting, but maybe it's okay to have one of these videos every once in a while. Let me know what you think, guys. Do you like these kind of live commentary vlogs? I'm just going to be fishing in this video, so you can just listen to this. Hopefully no PKers come. I just unlocked this dark crab fishing. I spent a ton of time completing the Wilderness Elite Diary. I did a ton of levels for that, and you'll be seeing that all coming soon in a future video. I have a lot of clips of, like, it was very hard because you have to mine 2 runed ores here and smelt them into a runed bar, and then you have to make a scimitar, and you have to do that with boosts if you're me, because you're lazy and you don't want to get 85 mining. I had to get 80, and yeah, it was not easy to get the boosts all to work out properly, but it all did in the end, so that worked out very nicely. Anyway, so story time. Yesterday I was driving. I had basically 2 sessions of classes. I had 2 classes in the morning. I drove to campus, worked out fine, everything was fine, drove back no problem, and then I had like a 2-hour class in the evening, like 5 to 7 p.m. type of class like that. And anyway, so when I was driving to class, and it's about a 10 to 15 minute drive to campus from my apartment, I noticed a kind of strange smell in my car. Like, it was very odd. Obviously I have all the windows down. It was like 15 degrees out up here in upstate New York, and it's also snowing, so you're never really gonna have the windows open. But I figured it was just something from the outside. Driving around town, especially around the busy streets, you'll have plenty of unpleasant smells like smog and stuff. You know, there's trucks driving by, and because my air conditioning, or heat rather, I guess both, are set to take air from the outside of the car, I just figured that it was something from the outside of the car, and I didn't really think anything of it. So fast forward 2 hours later, I get out of class in the evening. It's nighttime, it's still snowing a little bit, and I'm driving home. I actually sat in my car for like 10 minutes before I drove home because the windshield was very frosty and you couldn't really see anything from it, so I just turned the heat on, and you know, the front heat, and it melts the frost off the front so you can see what you're doing. And right as I'm pulling out of the parking lot, the car is very loud. Like, it does not sound good. Like, it sounds like there's a serious problem. But I figured, okay, I'll drive home and I'll take a look at it, and I'll probably just drive it to the mechanic tomorrow. So anyway, as I'm driving home, the smell is back, and it's also way stronger. And it didn't really occur to me at the time that it smelled like something was burning, because it didn't smell like a typical burning smell. It just smelled very odd. And it got to the point where I'm like opening the windows. It's like a very strong smell, and I'm like, okay, the second I get home, again, it's only a short drive. It's not like I'm going cross country or something. I might as well just get back to my apartment before I check it out. I'm driving back, and I'm around a couple blocks from my apartment, and suddenly the smell is still there, and suddenly someone driving behind me starts honking like crazy, like something is seriously wrong. And yeah, so I open my window. I'm like, what's going on, bro? Why are you honking at me? I wasn't like angry. I was like, whoa, what's going on? Is everything all right? He's like, bro, your car is on fire, man. Get out of your car. Get out of your car. Your car's on fire. And I'm like, holy shit, that's what the smell is. Something's burning. So I get out of the car as soon as possible, which you can't just rush out of my car because the lock is broken. And it's kind of scary. It's an electronic. I drive a Hyundai Santa Fe. It's early 2000s. It's a very nice car. It's not a particularly new car. That's 17 years old now, but it's not even 100,000 miles. It's been very well maintained, never been in an accident, etc. But yeah, if you try to, the lock is broken. So if you just try to pull on the door when the car's locked, you'll actually get like locked in, and you have to roll down the window and you pull on the door from the outside, and that'll fix it. So I very carefully did not do that. I got out of the car as soon as possible, and I looked under the car, and sure enough, on the very bottom of the car, not on the hood, but like kind of between the two front tires, there was a small flame. And yeah, it was like, holy shit, what the hell happened? And I didn't know how big the fire was when I was still in the car and the guy was yelling at me to get out. Like, for all I know, the entire back of the car is like an inferno right now, and it's about to explode. So I was very like I was almost afraid for my life for a second when he was saying, "Your car is on fire, get the hell out of your car." It wasn't a very big flame, but yeah, I didn't know that at the time. I know that cars don't usually actually explode. That's more of a thing you'll see in film. But it can happen. Like, if you shoot, I mean, obviously you wouldn't want to try this, but you know, in the movies you see people shoot a gas tank of a car and it explodes. That typically will not happen. Like, a gas tank doesn't just explode typically, although it can happen. But yeah, anyway, so I get out of the car and there's a flame is there. I turn the car off and I park this is in the middle of a street, by the way. It's not a busy street, but I didn't like pull over or anything. I just got the hell out of the car, and yeah, there's this flame under it. So I called 911, but I turned the car off, and by the time the emergency services people came there, the flame was out, so it didn't look like there was any danger of like the flame getting bigger. And I was still like pretty scared at this point, because I'm like, okay, I'm safe, but is my car about to like what the hell was burning? Am I gonna need like a new transmission, and like this is gonna be $2,000 tomorrow? Am I gonna have to have this towed? But the emergency services people were very nice. They basically said, okay, we think this is safe enough for you to just drive to your apartment parking lot, because it's only like 2 blocks away, and we'll just follow you as we go to make sure the fire doesn't come back. And so I drove it back to the parking lot. It's fine. And today, what I had to do was I called basically a towing company, and they towed it to the mechanic I usually go to here. And I'm expecting, like, okay, the car was literally on fire, so whatever is going to need to be replaced, it's probably going to be a fuck ton of money. I was thinking, is it going to be $800? Is it going to be $1,500? You know, am I just going to have to get a new car because it's going to be so expensive? I mean, if it was on fire, there must be some severe damage. But what ended up happening is they called me back with probably the best possible news you could have. So I'm not a car expert. I know a little bit about cars, not very much, probably not much more than the average person. But they called me back and said, basically, in your power steering, the fluid that makes power steering possible. If you don't know what a power steering is, basically when you steer your car with the steering wheel, it's not just that easy to turn the wheels. You need a system of power steering to make it easier to turn the wheel and turn the actual wheels on the car. The fluid in that was leaking. There was a pinhole leak, and it was leaking onto a part of the exhaust that was very hot, and that was causing the fluid to burn up and cause that little flame there. And all they would need to do is replace some stuff with the power steering, and it's going to be like $300 or $350, which was excellent news, because I had also driven the car like out of the parking lot to get it to the tow truck just for like 30 seconds, and the car was extremely loud. I could barely steer it because obviously there did end up being a problem with the power steering, and the car sounded extremely loud. Like, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get it out to the parking lot. The reason I had it towed is obviously I didn't want there to be another fire, and if I did have it towed, I'm not sure if it would have made it. If I did drive it manually to the shop, which is like 10 minutes away, I'm not sure it would have made it. But yeah, that ended up being very good news. $350 for something that was literally on fire is a pretty good deal, I guess. And of course, it was nice to not be hurt either. That was really the first time, though, that I can remember in recent history that I was, for at least a moment, I was afraid for my life. Like, I didn't know how big the fire was. All I knew is, oh my god, I've been driving this car and I'm inside it still, and it's on fire. And it does make you kind of value that, you know, you have to make the most of every day, because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, people get killed all the time in car accidents, things like that. You never know. I mean, maybe it was a 1% chance that the car could have exploded or something, but it could have happened, and you never know. And to be away from that experience unscathed is I'm very appreciative, and makes you value life a little more. As cliche as that sounds, I guess it's definitely true a little bit. Oh, and one thing before I upload this video, this is being recorded after the rest of the video. You know, my KD ratio and dark crabs are different. I just picked up the car from the shop, and they said that it's basically a miracle that the car didn't really go up in flames, and that somehow the fire stopped when I turned the car off. because they saw that the flame marks were very, very close to dozens of other flammable things on the car, and more than likely if this like happened to anyone else, it would probably light the entire car on fire and it would have been the end, and who knows what would happen to me. So very, very lucky, and I definitely downplayed how lucky I was earlier. Like, it really should have become a entire car on fire, whereas somehow the fire went out when the car was shut off. So very, very fortunate to get away from that with no injury, and also such a minor cost for repair, relatively speaking. So I hope you guys enjoyed that story. But anyway, a couple RuneScape related topics I did want to talk about in this video because they wouldn't really fit in like a PKing video or something. So one thing I want to bring up is the Hardcore Ironman and how it's affected content creation for old school RuneScape. It's definitely been an extremely positive thing. There's been so many good hardcore series and streamers and such. As far as me making one, right now I'm leaning towards not making one because there are so many things in this game that I would not enjoy as a Ironman in general. Like, for this, for example, dark fishing bait, you need thousands of dark fishing bait to do dark crabs. I don't really feel like going and killing zombies for dark fishing bait, or if I want to go to like God Wars or something, I don't feel like doing the herblore for brews, or if I want to buy more charges for a Zarek's talisman, I don't feel like going killing lizardmen. Like, there are so many things about it that I would just simply not enjoy. Like, basically not having infinite supplies of all like brews and stuff, I would really hate. I don't think I would ever get used to that. Especially like getting all the stuff for quests, for example, would suck. I wouldn't want to do enough agility to have stamina potions all the time. That would really suck. So at the moment, I don't really plan to make a Hardcore Ironman, although I can't really rule it out for the future either. There was one thing I've been thinking about for the last 2 days, and I don't know why I spent so much time thinking about this, because it really is ridiculous. And that is the fact that if you go to the Hardcore Ironman achievements page, there are still no Hardcore Ironman with a Vedion, Callisto, or Venenatus pet, and the only thing like I would consider is maybe going for one of those pets. But there's so many problems with that, it's like so unrealistic. So the good thing is the drop rate for the pets for those are 1 in 2,000, which is pretty common. So there's a decent, like, or not a decent, but there's a fair chance of just getting lucky and getting one within 10 kills. But if you were to go for one, you would have to probably use multiple Hardcore Ironmans, because it would take way more than one account most likely to get one before you die multiple times. So you would have to keep making new Hardcore Ironmans all the time. So in other words, like, typically people make a Hardcore Ironman, then they'll have a bunch of goals. If you were to go for a Wildy pet on a Hardcore Ironman, the goal would be to get a Wildy pet. Like, the entire purpose of the account would have to be to get the Wildy pet. Unless maybe you have like a 126 Hardcore Ironman, 126 combat, and you could have plenty of brews and you could tank PKers a little bit better. You would probably just have to keep making Hardcore Ironmans and keep dying over and over until you get a Wildy pet, and it would take a very long time. So you'd have to basically, in like a week or so, make a Hardcore Ironman that could kill a wilderness boss, and then just keep killing it until you get the pet or die. And whenever you die, you would just have to make a new Hardcore Ironman and keep doing this process over and over. But even that strategy has a lot of problems with it. So there's 3 choices, obviously: Venenatus, Callisto, and Vedion. All 3 are bosses which I killed a lot now. So I know plenty about them and how to kill them the best way and everything. But so Venenatus you have to rule out pretty much right away, because Venenatus has an attack that deals 100 damage, double 50 basically. And it doesn't happen too often. It usually only happens every like few hours or something of killing Venenatus, but for that reason I don't think it would be practical. Even if it doesn't hit double 50, you're not going to get 99 HP on these like Hardcore Ironmen, so a 35-35 would probably one-hit KO you. I suppose if you were a level like 126 with 99 HP, you could stay above 100 HP at all times, but even that I think is really impractical. So the other choice would be Callisto, and the major problem with Callisto, and Callisto can also kill you. Right now, Callisto can kind of combo you up to around 100 damage if it combines its pushback attack and just its like random 60 damage attack. Although I think there actually is a pull out right now to nerf that, so it can't do that. But even so, Callisto is by far the most PK'd Wildy boss. There are PKers there constantly, and you would really just not last very long. You'd get a few kills before a PKer would find you, and it's just totally impractical as well. And Callisto has extremely high defense, so it would take very long to kill it. Same with Venenatis. Venenatis has defense that's above that of the Corp, so it's not like these would be fast kills at all. The other option, of course, is Vedion, and Vedion also has its own sets of problems. In some ways, I think for this challenge, Vedion might be the best choice, but like that's not a very great best choice. Basically, with Vedion, you have to safe spot it, and it is weak to crush. Like it actually has a weakness. The other wilderness bosses don't really have a weakness, so like a low level couldn't really kill them very fast. But you could feasibly like get an account with an anchor within like a week, and then just camp Vedion. But even as a maxed main, it takes me around 5 minutes to kill Vedion, because you have to kill the first form, the first 2 sets of dogs, and you have to kill the second form, and also with that the second set of dogs, which have a lot of HP. So doing this on a hardcore Ironman would probably be like 10 to 15 minute kills. And even though Vedion is PK'd the least, and it can't really one-hit KO you, it would still be PK'd enough to where it'd be totally impractical. But I don't know, let me know, do you guys think it's really possible for a hardcore Ironman to get a wilderness pet? Like, do you think this challenge is at all realistic? Or do you think this is like so crazy that it's not even worth thinking about? But there is a part of me that feels like you could realistically make an account within a week that could kill Vedion a few times per hour, and it would be possible to get the Vedion pet, but it's just extremely difficult. And I don't know, it's just kind of something I've been thinking of the last few weeks. It would probably be the hardest thing you could possibly do on this game, or pretty close to it. Like obviously the like Inferno, like Wooks did Inferno at 1 defense, that's like the hardest execution wise, but at least that you can just keep trying it. Whereas this would take forever to do this. This would take like years of making hardcore Ironmans and just killing Vedion like 2 kills per hour and then getting PK'd and having to make a new account. It would just take so long. So the other thing I want to talk about with hardcore Ironman, and I debated not talking about this at all because I don't want to feel like I'm starting shit with like other content makers, and so I don't want to get specific in this video other than saying this is not really directed towards a friend, because I know his hardcore Ironman just died a couple days ago. This is not really, he's not really the first person that comes to mind when I think about this problem, and I actually think he does make pretty decent videos, so I'm not trying to start shit. But anyway, so the best way to explain this, I guess, is just saying I don't like it how so many content makers, streamers and YouTubers, for example, when their hardcore Ironman dies, they just make a new one and do the exact same shit on it. Like, I don't see what the point of making a new hardcore Ironman is, and I think they realize too that the new hardcore Ironman is just going to die as well, and then they're just going to make a new one, and it's going to be the same stuff over and over. I would much rather see everyone just continue to play as a normal Ironman. And I feel like the only reason a lot of them continue as a hardcore is just because the hardcore Ironman sells better. Like, even though it's really the exact same thing, 95% of the gameplay is the same. You know, you can't go to the wilderness, etc. Things like that are different, but a lot of it's just the same. I don't understand why people don't just continue the hardcore Ironman as a normal Ironman. I feel like it's just the hardcore Ironman status, like putting it in your stream title, for example. They're doing it just to help viewership, when really it might actually be better content in the long run if they just continue as a normal Ironman. Like, even like as someone who's watched some of these streams, it's like, okay, cool, they're hardcore Ironman, they're getting all the God War stuff, and then they die and they just give up on all those goals. Like, why not go for all the God Swords on a normal Ironman if you're trying to do that on the hardcore Ironman? That would still be almost as entertaining than seeing you go get graceful again and go doing all this quest again. I don't know, I really don't want to feel like I'm attacking other streamers. This is just something I've noticed, and I've heard other people say this as well, and that's why I don't want to name specific names, because there's a lot of people who do this. But when you know that the new hardcore is just going to die as well at some point, there's no point in making a new one just to get more views. And I think that people would enjoy the content in the long run more if you just continue the normal Ironman. Again, mostly it's the same thing. And yes, it's less exciting, like, oh cool, you're at Arma and at any moment you could die or something, but more than likely you're just going to die anyway from a DC or something, and that's happened to a lot of hardcore Ironman, obviously. And plenty of things do get unlocked when your hardcore Ironman status goes away. And to bring up one specific example of this in a positive way, for example, it was nice to see a friend, when his hardcore Ironman died, he started doing wilderness stuff, and it opened up a lot of new things. Whereas I feel like a lot of, at least he did make a new hardcore Ironman, but at least he tried to do the things you can do on a normal Ironman that you can't do on a hardcore. And obviously he made a second one and it didn't really work out, but Yeah, I feel like a lot of streamers just keep making them when just play an Ironman. It's not that much different. It's really not. It's kind of taking away the fun of the Hardcore Ironman when people just keep making new ones over and over. It's very hard to explain this without feeling like I'm attacking other streamers or YouTubers or whatnot. And I don't know, you guys can feel free to disagree. Let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe I'm totally out of whack on this and people should just make a new hardcore every time it dies and just give up on the Ironman account. But really, I feel like all that work you put into it, you might as well just continue playing it. The only exception to this rule, I think, would be if you die pretty early on the Hardcore Ironman. Like, if you died and you're, like, level 80 or something, okay, I could see you making a new one, but I've seen series where people have Hardcore Ironman and then they have a really cool goal. Like, maybe their goal is to get an Inferno cape, or Inferno, rather, and they make it really far into that goal. Like, they're pretty close to having all the gear they want, and then they die, and then they just give up, and then they start a new one. And it's like, wow, that would have been really cool to see you finish that goal, but instead they just make a new one, and instead the content changes from God Wars and raids and stuff. It changes to them getting full graceful again, and then getting a quest cape again. I really don't see the point in doing all that stuff over and over again when just continue on the normal Ironman, in my opinion. But that's just me. Maybe I'm, like I said, maybe I have a completely wrong opinion on this, but that's just the way I see it in the roughly year or so since the Hardcore Ironman has been released. So I think I've said enough. I've been going on for 20 minutes now, but yeah, expect more videos soon. I should be fine. I think towards the end of this month I'll get a little bit busy with academics and stuff. I have some tests toward the end of this February, and obviously that stuff comes first, especially because I'm only in school for a few more months before I graduate, and I'm sure I'd like to find a full-time job when I do, but in the meantime might as well finish strong with school. But I do plan to try to stick to the one video a week schedule, although this is kind of fucking that up because this is going to be uploaded tomorrow, which is Wednesday, so maybe I'll still have a video up over the weekend. We'll see how that works out. But anyway, if you're new to the channel, thanks for watching, and subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell to get the notifications whenever I upload. You can join the clan chat, AndrewAJT62. That'll be up on screen, just our general kind of discussion clan chat. Thanks to everyone who's in there. But even if you have a clan chat already, feel free to join the Discord. Obviously, I know, like, I don't mean to, sometimes I say this and I feel like people are, like, gonna feel bad if they don't join the clan chat. No, it's totally fine. If you already have a clan chat, obviously most people do, that's totally fine, and you could still feel free to join the Discord down below, which obviously you can be in as many Discords as you like. I'm in like 20 servers already, so that's totally fine. You can follow me on Twitter down below. I'll follow you back if you play RS. You can follow me on Twitch down below, and you can support us on Patreon down below if you would like to as well. So that's probably going to do it for the video today, guys. Let me know what you thought of some of the things I said in this video. Have you ever had a similar weird experience in a car? What do you think of the Hardcore Ironman thing? Do you think it's possible to get one of those Wildy pets, realistically speaking? And do you think it's kind of unnecessary when people keep making new hardcores instead of just continuing on the normal Ironman? And I will see you guys next video. Take care, guys.